Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GEMS podcast. I am so glad you all are here. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are so lucky to be joined by Magan Lewis, who is a plant scientist. Thank you so much for joining us. To start off, do you mind telling me a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I am thrilled to be here. Your STEM gem sounds awesome. That's very, very cool. My name is Dr. Magan Lewis, and I'm a plant breeder and molecular geneticist. That's where I got my bachelor's, master's, and PhD. And I've always had a passion for science, education, and music. A fun fact about me that many don't know is that I triple majored in my undergrad because I'm an opera singer. Classically trained since 13, so I did opera and piano composition and then crop and weed science. And during my journey, I found it really important to focus on science and feeding the growing population because that's what's near and dear to my heart. And I kept music as a hobby. I joined Corteva, and if you don't know who Corteva is, acronym I use is Corteva Forever, so to help you say Corteva. And I've been in Corteva for almost 9 years, and it's been a blast and a journey. So after my PhD, I joined industry as a breeder. So that's the individual who develops the new seed that the farmer plants. And I did soybeans and then corn, and then a big passion for people leadership. And I'm excited to share my journey today with all of you. But I've had 7 company relocations in 9 years. And it took me across the Dakotas, north and south, Minnesota, Budapest, Hungary, so 2 hours south of Budapest in Szeged, Hungary, so in charge of Europe research and commercial, and then to Iowa. So I'm based in Iowa today, Algona and Des Moines. So my family, we are relocation pros, international relocation pros. And what I do today is that my career morphed into leadership and science and scientist and breeder, and now I'm an innovation leader across the globe. So I get the chance to work with individuals and bright scientists across China, Japan, India, Italy, Germany, France, Switzerland, anywhere from Africa, North America, Brazil, Argentina. It's endless, and the team is exciting. We work on new technology. And so we try to modernize field scientists for our field scientists that are taking notes and enhance efficiency, safety, and time savings. And by doing that, we get to work with cool tech. Drones, agriculture robots, the new and the unbelievable technology from Google and everywhere else. So it's so fun. I'm happy to be here, and let's dive into it, Laura, and I'm excited.
Yes, me as well. So I guess to start off, how did you get drawn into this field? You said that science was always important to you, but was there a specific person or event?
That's a great question. And I want all of you who are watching this to think about it and write down who your role model is today. And what I'm going to share with you is going to be 2 stories, because one thing I learned is that I have different role models for different segments of my life and my career. But I'm going to tell you how I got introduced. So I grew up in a small town in North Dakota, a population of 1,000. And my dad was a science teacher, and my mom is a music teacher. I was so lucky my entire life to grow up in my dad's science lab. He was named the most outstanding teacher across the globe in 2005. He impacted thousands of lives with science fair. And so I literally was raised in a science lab. I remember 3 years old sitting at my dad's science lab with all these students that he was working with. And I could remember the jingling of quarters, because the quarters meant I could go get a can of pop or soda, whatever you call it. And I'd use the 50 cents, and I'd rush to the vending machine, grab my pop, and then I'd rush back to the science lab so I could do research with my dad and all the kids. And that's where I got exposed to scientific method and how do we solve things. And that morphed into agriculture because we grew up in a farming community. And so I started research at age 12. Working on sugar beets, potatoes, corn, soybeans, developing natural fungicides, natural insecticides, crazy outside the box thinking about sustainable agriculture. And that's where the big push of science came from. To further that just a little bit, my dad passed away unexpectedly in 2013 from a brain aneurysm. That was tough. Very, very tough, because he was my role model, my inspiration. I called my dad every single day. Our family's really close. We always have been. I have a brother and a mom, and we've always been close knit. So that was really difficult for me as a leader, but as a person, as a mom, as everybody else. And to be able to pick myself up and have half the impact that my dad has was my main mission of why I got involved with STEM outreach. And I became his successor for a lot of the national STEM boards that he was on, for Science Fair, Chemical Education Foundation. And I noticed that, man, I'm traveling a lot and I'm a mom. And I thought about why I was so passionate about science was those hands-on experiences that I had in my dad's lab. And I have 2 girls myself, so woo, STEM gems. But I said, you know what? I got to do something more local, involve my children. So my husband and I actually co-founded a STEM camp called Lewis Pathfinder STEM Camp in 2019, and we bring our girls with us. So a 5-year-old or 6-year-old may be teaching science to a 10-year-old. That's totally fine, because the point of it is we can teach each other. So my key role model of how I got into science is my dad, 120%, but also my mom, because she's been really supportive. Our family's really big in education. And so that's where the foundation and where my passion stems from. So another one though too, as you advance in your career, you recognize pivotal areas. And what I can say for advice for everybody today is find your role model, find your mentor, and it doesn't even have to be somebody in your field. I mean, mine was my dad, right? But today I mentor 25 individuals across the world. And that could be within the company at Corteva, outside the company. And I also have mentors and people who are business, science leaders, and also people who keep me grounded, because my schedule gets insane, but they keep me grounded to make sure I'm investing in my family and what I'm truly passionate about. And so I challenge all of you is to build your role models out, but identify 3 to 5 people today. And if you want me to hold you accountable, send me an email and I'll make sure that your people make sense, because this is your chance to shine and empower and form into something incredible. And there are so many individuals around you that are just waiting to help and waiting to inspire. And my mission is every interaction matters, so make every interaction count, whether it's with a neighbor, a post office, a grocery store, what have you. You have a blank canvas, so build it right with the right people. And I'm excited to watch you all soar.
Well, thank you so much. As you developed in your career and in your education, you mentioned that you triple majored, which is absolutely insane in your undergrad, because a lot of us, I'm a senior, so applying to colleges and stuff, I would not imagine triple majoring. But what was your research, your doctoral research on? Because you mentioned
Yeah, that's a great question. So my master's, I worked on corn breeding and cellulosic ethanol and stover quality. For my PhD, I worked on barley. And so it was fun at the time because I developed a DNA fingerprint for 6-row malting barley. And what that means is that it just allows the barley that's getting created on the behind the scenes to be the same year in and year out, because quality is really critical for malting and for Anheuser-Busch or Coors or some of the big beer companies out there. And so I had the opportunity to really get introduced to commercial and research all at once and how they blended together. And it wasn't necessarily a food product. Well, some would call it food, but it still was a product that's very popular and across the world. So my research is in barley. A fun fact with PhD is I also have a degree in education. I thought for sure I'd be a college professor. So I advised a ton of students. My final year of PhD, I taught courses in genetics or crop science or forage production in agriculture. And I did that. And I actually, in 2011, I met Dow Acre Sciences at the time because we merged to form Corteva. And I told my advisor that night, I remember so vividly, I said, I know I'm set up for being a professor and teaching and continue advising students because I love it, but industry is fast paced. I never have to write a grant again. There's money and I can be an adjunct professor. And I really jumped into the industry realm. So that was a big pivotal change because I was built, and I'm a planner if you can't tell. So my journal, like, okay, become professor at age blah, 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 do this at age blah, 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 blah. And I basically took a big eraser and I erased it and I said, new path, blazing new trail, industry, 7 relocations, moving up corporate ladder, but having a larger impact. And so I chose industry because I felt that I could have a better hand at having just connecting with the farmer. And I have in my multiple roles all the way through. A fun fact is that different leadership scientist roles, I've contacted thousands of farmers and been in contact and worked alongside them, and the good times and the bad, right? Drought conditions, whatever it is. And to this day, I have a funny one where an old cooperator farmer of mine from probably 5 years ago called me and said, Megan, I have this iPad thingy and it's supposed to fly this drone thingy, and can you help me and coach me? And so again, make every interaction count, right? So I must have had that kind of impact with him that he could call me and confide and say, hey, I'm ready to turn my farm digital. Megan, what can you do to offer and help? And yeah, so they'll probably more than you needed to know, Laura. But the big thing is barley genetics and breeding. So really agriculture focused and developing better barley varieties or corn hybrids, depending on my degree, just to help feed the growing population and contribute back. So yeah.
And so you're talking about helping this farmer with the drone that is being utilized on his farm. So digitizing a farm. Can you kind of explain what that means and what they're using that technology specifically for?
Awesome. So I want to hire you, Laura. Your questions are brilliant. It's like what I want my employees, who come work with Dr. Megan, so that's awesome. So when you think about digital farm, it's exciting. And I'm not sure about the age range, but this is for all ages. This is how I tell the story. So you think about what a farmer does day in and out, planting and harvesting and looking at their crops, walking tons of miles in their fields just to kind of get an understanding of what is going on. Are there weeds? Are there anything that I should be on the watch out for? Do I need to call my agronomist or sales rep, etc.? What a drone allows to do, I call that a drone creates a chapter book. And you think about drones flying over, the farmer doesn't have to walk thousands of miles or hundreds of miles through a field. What the farmer can do now is utilize imagery to tell the story of that farmer's field, and whether it's, or if there's weeds or disease, and that is so exciting. So telling that story in a chapter book just really brings in standardization of data, but it also saves them time, and it tells a better story because now you have it documented, you know exactly where it's at, and you can have a better prescription of what you're going to utilize on that farmstead. So I view it as a chapter book. Right now, we have a children's book, just like, cool, picture, I saw drought, I saw weed, awesome. Let's make a chapter book. And that's what I use technology for. So technology adds thousands, millions of images or data points, and it just tells your story at a greater length. But also, beside drones, you can Google tons of different companies out there using robots for planting or pulling weeds. I mean, it is endless. So the digital farm is really exciting, and that's where I pivoted. Now, I pivoted as a global innovation lead probably a year ago, and I did that because I can use my background of all the farming basics and breeding basics and farmer and operation excellence basics to now build it into what does the farm of the future look like, and are we equipped to help the farmer of the future, and also coach and teach people that your farmers aren't stereotypical. You know, you can't stereotype a farmer because I know some amazing women farmers, amazing women scientists, amazing agriculture leaders, and STEM pioneers. So it's a super exciting path, but I would say in a nutshell, I view it as children's book versus chapter book. We're just gaining more insight, more data, soil type. We're diving into moisture levels. We're diving into disease, insect identification. It is giving a farmer a chapter book instead of a children's book, and they can make better, uniform decisions.
And so you kind of talked earlier about when you started around your 12 or 13 years old with pesticides. So does that type of research that you did when you were super young kind of translate into this digitized farm? Because we're not going to lose the utilization of a pesticide or I guess take it a step farther and maybe like GMOs, like how does that affect your work?
Absolutely. So I am a creator of GMOs, right? In my history, growing up, and so that is a good topic to actually just talk about. I want to share a story, and the story I want to share GMOs is that I'm a mom. So I'm on parent organizations and I help out in classrooms when I can. I mean, this time's a little bit different. But one thing I notice is how we can better educate the public on what a GMO is and what it actually is. And the story that I have to say is that this is where I think the young STEM pioneers on this call can just really help the public, bring them over and understand science at a greater level. So I walked into the room, parent mom or mom, classroom mom, whatever it was called, and we're supposed to bring items and snack items. And the first person said, well, Megan, can you bring a GMO orange? And I was like, or GMO free oranges, you know, and I was like, well, let's talk about GMO. Do you know what GMO is? And, you know, you think there's GMOs, oranges out there, you know, and so it just really steps us back, and the importance of education and teaching and what a GMO actually is and the benefits that they bring to society to help us feed the growing population is surmountable. So that's just one area. But diving into that, pesticides first. That was your first question. I want to make sure I touch base. So growing up, you know, I tested against chemical pesticides, but I also try to find natural solutions. So my research was really around sustainability and agriculture, and that's what I get to do today in a nutshell. Definitely chemicals, they help keep fields weed free. You know, you think about the positives around them and also some of the negative impacts that they could potentially have too, but balancing it out, if you follow the label, you know, you're good. But my research growing up was natural development of fungicides and pesticides. And today, with the technology we have, think about this, the drone application potential or agriculture robot application potential. What it is that now you can have a targeted amount that you're going to be applying to your field. You're not just spraying the field with a standard liquid solution, same amount across the entire inch of that field. Now you can say, okay, I don't need chemical here. Oh, I do here. Spray, spot target. That's going to help the environment too, if you think about it. So it's kind of sustainability in a nutshell. It's always been where I am, and I've always been tech focused and kind of a tech geek. And that's where I try to do things smarter, not harder, and really enhance efficiency. But what I can say here is that, and I'm interested too, I have questions, Laura, like, do they teach you GMOs in school today, or have you learned about them, or what do you know about them? I'm just kind of curious on that.
I've learned a very little bit. I think it was,
Yeah.
you know, I was very young when I learned it, and it was a very short, quick blurb about it. So they don't really teach very much in your K through 12. Obviously, I don't know beyond that how in depth it goes. I think it's probably dependent on your professor and, you know, what they're interested in teaching, but we don't know a lot. And I think that it's important to educate people kind of what does that mean, and people's opinions on it will be transformed depending on that education aspect.
Yeah, no, that's really good. You know, you think about, I'm going to send some resources. I'm just making some notes of what I can maybe share with you too. If the people want to dive into GMOs or Corteva, I'm happy to share and guide. Because you think about a GMO, it's really using genetic engineering techniques to insert genetic material, DNA from one plant type to another. And the goal is to enhance foods that we eat almost every day. So, but making it should not be taken lightly. And that's where there's some great articles and some great ways of just how we work with GMOs and what GMO means. And I will love to share it with you guys. And so we can even do another session if there's interested on it, because that is a controversial topic. And, you know, just the process that we use at Corteva, but also at other places, I'm happy to discuss in a little bit greater detail.
That would be amazing. We'll have to get together and plan another day.
Yeah.
But as you make your notes and just kind of going back to your, you know, what I call it is like hype woman, a hype girl. You were saying that you know wonderful female farmers and female scientists. So as you've grown in your career, have you seen an apparent gap between male and females, or has it been even?
That's a great question. So I'm going to poll you first. So what do you think? So agriculture, global leader, entering into the space of egg industry. What do you think?
Well, I think historically it's probably going to be predominantly male. That's just my hypothesis.
Yeah, so that's definitely right. So what I want to share with all of you, and I think how Laura and I got connected, is I'm an IFTHN ambassador with AAAS, and it's a tremendous program. I'm truly grateful to be an ambassador because if she can see it, then she can be it. And we need that more than ever in the agriculture industry, 100%. So it depends, honestly. The beginning of my career, I was maybe one of 2 women scientists in a plethora, I won't give how many hundreds, but a lot of people, right? And so I've seen it both ways, but as I advance, one thing I can say for Corteva is that we're really focused on inclusion and diversity and really bringing that to the forefront, where I have seen, even in the last 3 years, just more opportunities for women. And, you know, personally, I want to see more. I think that we could do better because I think that women in general and other diversity pools and ideas, diversity of thought, experience, you know, whatever category that is that's what makes a team solid. That's what brings around the whole circle. You can't just have one mindset. We need multiple mindsets breaking down silos and challenging the status quo. That's what we need. So yes, I have seen it. I'd love to see more women, put it that way. That's what I could probably say politically correct, is that always room for more women in this space. And that's where my main mission is, really meeting with people like you and everybody on the call and also across the world, and saying, don't be afraid of agriculture science or science in general, right? Embrace it, because there is opportunities and you have to build your own brand, and don't be scared of building your own brand. There's people to support you and to make it happen. And if you are passionate about feeding the growing population, follow your dream and feed that growing population. And so one thing I can say today is that I've had hurdles. I've had ups, I have downs. It hasn't been all rainbows and sprinkles with gold on top. And I can be brutally honest. But the biggest thing that has kept me going, besides family and support, is perseverance, drive, and passion. My husband gave me a coffee mug and it says, be humble and be hungry. And I use that because I tell my girls, number one, I want you to be kind. You know, every day before we start the school day, I'm like, we do our little clapping thing. I'm like, woo! I have a lot of energy, if you can't tell. So I'm like, awesome, be kind, be awesome, be great, be, and then I say you, and then they say be me, because I want them to be themselves and be kind foremost, because then they can conquer the world, they can change the world. And that's what we do at our household. But, you know, yes, I want women to see it so they can be it, and definitely want to continue building the workforce with amazing, intelligent, creative women, because if we empower women or girls in STEM to courageously unleash their innovation and their passion for STEM, then the world and the communities that we live in would honestly change for the better. And that's my woo statement that gets me empowered every day, and I'll probably put it on a canvas in my office, but I really truly believe in that. So go you, go your team, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. So if you can see it, then you can be it. And so some of the women that you have seen to become as successful in where you are now, if you had the opportunity to sit down and have lunch with one female STEM lady, she can be alive or not, who would that person be?
That's an awesome question. You know, when people ask me that in the past, the funny thing is I always said my dad, right? Because, you know, you think back of how life is too short and you need to make sure you embrace it. But if I could sit down today, honestly, because I've had some good conversations with their foundation, I would sit down with the Gates. I would, you know, like people don't think about Melinda Gates really as a STEM frontier pioneer in tech, but she's blazing a path. And so that is one person, and I could go back in history, but just recently, because my tech focused and the focus on inclusion and diversity and the focus on empowering women, I think is something that I'm so passionate and empowered by, that I could learn a ton over a lunch, probably a happy hour or two with her, but I definitely want to drive that conversation and see how we could team up and collaborate and continue making an impact across the world, because I'm in it for good, so let's do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I think someone in a previous episode was mentioning how the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation kind of funded their research, and so they're absolutely such an integral part of STEM and research as a whole. So obviously, as we are on Zoom, which has become a more prevalent system, I guess, how has the coronavirus impacted your work?
Big time. So what I can say is I'm grateful. Not everybody has the setup that we do. So I do want to lead with that I know I'm truly grateful for the opportunities that we have as a family. But it has changed quite a bit. I went from full-time office and traveling, living in an airport, to working out of my basement full-time. But I always find the positive in situations. It's just the way that I'm built. I'm that optimistic, fun energizer bunny that jumps around a room. But the positive is that my team is connecting actually at a better level. If you remember at the beginning, I'm a global leader. So my people aren't in North America, and they're not just in Iowa, they're across the North America, South America, APAC, Asia Pacific, Europe, etc. And now we have equaled the playing field. So everybody calls in and we call in more. We use our video feature. We didn't use our video feature much. I got to be honest, before this whole pandemic, we're like, yeah, video off, let's not focus on that. So we didn't use it too much, and now we are. So we're connecting more. We're bringing, there's no sidebar conversations going on, everybody's focused, and we're actually delivering results and being more productive. But not everybody has that opportunity, because I'm grateful for my husband. My husband decided to be a stay-at-home dad. Right as soon as my doctorate was done, he quit his 80-hour-a-week job at UPS and became a stay-at-home dad so we could launch my career. So like I said, there's a lot of areas and hard decisions that we had to make as a family in order to get a female and agriculture leader launched in the industry, even about 10 years ago. So a lot of give and take, but it's been super fun.
So as a stay-at-home dad and like with your children, do you think that your girls will follow a similar path that you have?
Well, so that's a great question. Everybody's like, Megan, you can't force them to be STEM. I don't force them. I just want to give them all the opportunities and all the information that they need to make that decision. So what I can say is that my oldest, she wants to be an entomologist engineer. And that's not a current path. But I was like, how clever, how creative. So her and I are we're synced a little bit on that side, but she wants to study insects and dive. She loves insects, and we have praying mantises in the house. We have, you name it. Our house is a hodgepodge of insects and insect collections. Every trip, that's what we do. And then my youngest wants to be a dentist. I don't like looking in people's teeth, so that's not an area that I would go, but cool, good for you. She loves, healthy teeth, and she's big into understanding genetics behind teeth, and she's like a first grader. And I'm like, why do you need no genetics? Well, Mom, I'm missing this tooth like you were, so that has to be because we're related. And so she's ready having those concepts. I'm like, okay, that's wicked cool. Awesome. So I tell them to be who they want to be. And I support them, but what I can say is we do a lot of STEM in this house. So we have STEM hour, and every day we dive in and we do a hands-on experiment. My friend said, Megan, start a YouTube channel, and so we can watch it and do it with you, because I don't know what to do with my kids at home. And so I taped a couple on YouTube. They're available through Corteva Grows outreach site. But yeah, I just try to involve them in everything we do. I tie it in with a STEM lesson. It could be something as silly and as simple as, we play the piano because music's still big in my life. Play the piano. Hey, did you hear that wavelength? Did you hear the pitch? What do you think is sciencey about that? And we dive into the whys. Trampoline. We have a trampoline. We jump at the trampoline. We talk about aerodynamics. And then I said, do you know my friend who's a NASA engineer? Well, you should. Let's schedule a Zoom. So if anything, I want them to be who they want to be, but I also want them to have enough information, because I was lucky. I had that information growing up with my dad, just constantly saying, you could do this, this, and this, and this. And not everybody has that. Not everybody has that person to push them. My husband did not have that growing up at all. And he sees the benefit of just even with our kids. He's like, man, I wish I had that, growing up. Man, I wish we had experiences like that growing up. And so it's really near and dear to our heart, especially for him. It's personal. We do road schooling. We jump in the camper and we travel across the United States, and we learn about that segment. Last week, we learned about bat hibernation, and we just dive into it. I'm an agriculture scientist, I'm a plant scientist, but I love STEM in general. So we bring it to life and make it fun.
Well, we'll have to check out some of your videos. I'll have to send those to my girls. But what?
And Laura, I need your address too, because November 8th, we're going to launch a Women in Science coloring book in agriculture that shows a lot of features of just different women in ag. And I am featured in one, but it's weird seeing yourself drawn out. It's weird, but it's cool.
Are you?
Send some your way.
Thank you. Are you excited about your statue?
Yeah. No, I told everybody. So when they were being made, my friend who lives in Indiana, she went to visit it, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this looks like Megan, like the flower child," because I had a thing on my head. But no, it was really cool. I said, I told my family, it kind of looks like an Oompa Loompa, and but I said, no, that's cool. I think that the orange is awesome. I think it's a power statement. It's amazing women who are being featured, and not just my statue. I want to honestly get back together with those 120 women again, because we had a blast. We grew together last year, and you just kind of form a sisterhood. You support each other. I've been in contact with so many of them. We worked on different keynote speaking events. We dove into topics, writing a book, you name it. And so it's an amazing program with exponential benefit.
Well, thank you. I mean, If Then is incredible. You're incredible, like the work you're doing. And so thank you for your time to kind of share your story. And we'll have to get back together to discuss GMOs a little bit further.
Absolutely. And I'll bring the right people to the conversation. I didn't know we had time, because I love to dive into GMOs, because it's one area I'm passionate about, but I could have taken your whole hour. So that's where I wanted to be mindful of our conversation today. But it is a topic that I'll tell you exactly who we need to invite and really dive into it.
Absolutely, yes. And I just say, we'll take an hour, but normally I try to take a little bit less, to keep people engaged for however long we're talking for. But I've really enjoyed it, and I've loved learning about what you do, because I think when you think about science, like I guess the fields of science, and you're thinking about chemistry and math, like I guess the first thing I don't think about is a farmer. That's just not the first thing I think about. And so I think it's a really interesting field that is expanding and digitizing, which is not something I think is also publicized. So it's so interesting to learn about new things. And I know that through these conversations, I'm very impressionable right now, trying to figure out what I want to do. And I know that so many girls in the group are as well. And so these conversations are really shaping and developing what we're going to do in the future. So thank you so much.
Follow me at Dr. Megan on Instagram. I just started this whole Instagram thing. I think my kids can actually operate it better than I can, but I'm learning. So that means something. I'm learning it, right? I'm learning the lingo and what to type. But no, it's super fun. And yeah, thank you for having me. If you need anything, you just let me know. I'm happy to help and happy to keep inspiring, and I will send some info your way. And yeah, let's dive in and keep showing girls worldwide that if they see it, they can be it. And the biggest thing is the agriculture coloring book too will give you even more insight. So we highlight engineers, entomologists, we highlight sales component, commercial component, marketing, Zoom calls, because that's what I do, 14 hours a day now, is sitting in my basement on a computer. So, but yeah, we're happy to dive in, and let me know if you need anything at any time. We're in it together. We got to keep these interactions to life. So happy to be here.
That's right. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Colga Gems. You can also reach us through email. Our email is colgagems@gmail.com. That is COLGAGEMS. And I'll see y'all next time.